Good morning and welcome to another episode of Teaching Math. Today we are going to start on chapter 6. In this chapter I will teach you all about squares, quadratic formulas and graphs. And last but not least, we will continue our journey through the land of algebra. So after this chapter you'll be an upstanding citizen of the land of mathematics. So let's start on the first paragraph, squares and square roots. What is a square? Well, you do know that a square is a quadrilateral with equal sides and right angles, like this one. This is square ABCD with sides of 5 cm. The area of this square is 5 times 5 is equal to 25 squared centimeters. When you do that, we say that you have just calculated the square of 5. We use this symbol as its notation. We pronounce this as 5 squared. The answer, 25, is a square number. The first 16 squares should be easy. Make sure you memorize these. If you need to calculate the square of a negative number, let's say -3, you have to add brackets to your exercise. This means you have to multiply -3 and -3, which is 9. If you were to calculate this without brackets, you are multiplying -3 and 3, which is -9. So, always make sure you take a good look at your exercise, as -6 squared turns into -36, while -6 squared becomes 36. When you need to square a fraction, most of the time the fraction is already written between brackets. To solve this, simply square the numerator and the denominator. So 2 over 5 squared becomes 4 over 25. The same can be done with 7 over 8 squared. This becomes 49 over 81. But be careful when working with mixed numbers. To calculate the square of 1 over 4, you must first turn it into an improper fraction, 5 over 4. Then you take the square of the numerator and the square of the denominator. So we receive 25 over 16. And this can be simplified into 9 over 16. Next up, the opposite of the square, the square roots. Where 7 squared gives me 49, the root of 49 gives me back my 7. We use this symbol as its notation. As you already know the square numbers up to 256, knowing the square root of these numbers is just switching the rows of your table. Easy as that. Now let's talk about the order of operations, shall we? By now you should know the order of operations from the top of your head. First we solve any brackets, then we multiply and divide from left to right, and finally we add and subtract from left to right. With the introduction of squares and square roots, the order will change slightly. The squares and roots will become the new number 2, and all the others just go down one spot. Let's practice this a few times, just to be sure. For our first exercise, we have 4 plus 3 squared times 2. First we solve the square, which is 9. So 4 plus 9 times 2. Then we solve the multiplication. 9 times 2 is equal to 18. And 4 plus 18 is 22. On to the next one. 5 minus 9 squared times 1 over 2 squared. First we solve the brackets. 5 minus 9 is equal to -4. The brackets, we keep them in our exercise, as our next step would be to calculate the square of -4. So we have the line -4 squared times 1 over 2 squared. Both squares can be calculated at the same time. The square of -4 is equal to 16, and 1 over 2 becomes 1 over 4, which means we end up with the line 16 times 1 over 4, which is equal to 4. What about this one? -8 squared plus -5 squared times 2. The squares can be calculated at the same time, but make sure you calculate the square of 8 and the square of minus 5. So our next line is minus 64 plus 25 times 2. Then we solve the product of 25 and 2, which is 50. And minus 64 plus 50 is minus 14. Now we add some square roots. Minus 1 times the root of 100 plus 6 squared. Squares and roots have the same priority, so we solve those from left to right. The square root of 100 is equal to 10, so minus 1 times 10 plus 6 squared. Then we solve 6 squared, which is 36. Minus 1 times 10 plus 36. We multiply minus 1 and 10 to receive minus 10 as our answer. And minus 10 plus 36 is 26. Another round? What about this one? 6 times the root of 81 minus 5 times minus 1 squared. We could save some time and solve the square and the root at the same time. We now have the line 6 times 9 minus 5 times 1. The multiplications can also be done simultaneously, so we end up with 54 minus 5, which is equal to 49. We finished this video with this one. The root of 9 minus 5 squared divided by minus 4 plus 2 squared times 8. Our priority are the brackets, but inside the brackets I see a root and a subtraction. So that means we first solve the root of 9, which is 3. 3 minus 5 squared divided by minus 4 plus 2 squared times 8. Then we solve the brackets, but as our answer is negative, I'm going to keep the brackets. So our next line is minus 2 squared divided by minus 4 plus 2 squared times 8. We solve the squares to get 4 divided by minus 4 plus 4 times 8. Divisions and multiplications must be done from left to right. So we first get minus 1 plus 4 times 8. And then we get minus 1 plus 32, which is equal to 31. In the next video, I will teach you what quadratic formulas are and how to work with them. It is of the utmost importance that you know what squares are and how to properly use them. So make sure you practice enough. I hope to see you in the next paragraph. Bye bye!